I'm in the middle of the island of New Guinea, where I finally found three of the hardest to contact military commanders on Earth, the commanders of the local West Papuan National Liberation Army. I'm here to investigate what happened just over those mountains a few years ago when Indonesia came in with drones and helicopters and dropped bombs and shot rockets at little huts.
My colleague Kirsten and I are with Teriana Sato and Sebi Sambom, the Chief of the General Staff and the spokesman for the TPNPB, the West Papuan National Liberation Army, the most secretive, isolated, uncontacted guerrilla fighters on Earth. For decades, the TPN have been fending off brutal military campaigns from Indonesia, who took over the western half of New Guinea from the Dutch in the 1960s after a rigged referendum. Terry and Sebi claim they can get us into the Star Mountains of West Papua, a secret place that is in a state of secret war. One of the last areas of New Guinea to be reached by the Dutch. A region so remote the first time outsiders ventured there was 1959. Few have been since. Those who have come with guns and bombs. They come on a mission. They come to kill these men.
Enli M. Bidana disebut sebagai komandan operasi kelompok kriminal bersenjata Ngalum Kupel Lamek Taplo. Kelompok Lamek Taplo ini merupakan pihak yang bertanggung jawab atas insiden pembakaran sejumlah fasilitas umum dan rumah warga di Kiwirok dan Okhika.
The shooter was an armed criminal group led by Lamek Taplo, who often terrorized the military, police, and local residents. The government have designated armed criminal groups as terrorists who often perform massive violence.
Beredar di media sosial detik-detik baku tembak antara Organisasi Papua Merdeka atau OPM dengan prajurit TNI di distrik Kiwirok, Papua.
Nestled deep in the jungle heart of the island of New Guinea, the Nyalam Kupel and Bintang Timor commands of the West Papuan National Liberation Army, led by Lamek Taplo and Ananias Mimin, have claimed responsibility for a series of attacks on the Indonesian military's most remote frontier outposts. In September 2021, Lamek Taplo's group set fire to a few government buildings in the Kiwirok district. Using this incident as pretense, Indonesia drastically escalated its military campaign against the people of the Star Mountains. Very little is known about what exactly happened, but there were rumours of an aerial bombardment, helicopters and possibly drones, shooting rockets and dropping bombs, forcing villagers to flee their homes and hide in jungle camps. Rumours that till this day have been denied by Indonesia and ignored by the rest of the world. In 2023, I visited the Star Mountains and interviewed witnesses to the attack, confirming important details. Yet the scale of this campaign is still truly unknown. The Indonesian military is still occupying the area. Papuans are still hiding in the jungle. But in these mountains, there is still an armed resistance, led by a man no outsider has met or interviewed. A man who, I was told, holds the key evidence. I'm still trying to understand what is happening in these mountains, and to do so, I'm trying to get where the Indonesian military can't. I'm trying to get to Lamek Taplo, one of the most wanted men in Indonesia. We're landing near the border of Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, in a village that up until last year was home to hundreds of West Papuan refugees that had fled after the bombings.
Today we're walking all the way up there and then down, then up again to the second mountain.
Yeah.
And that's up there is a village in the Kiwi Rock area.
Yeah, we'll see the Kiwi Rock there.
Yeah, yeah.
We can see the mountains of Kiwi.
Are there Indonesian military there?
Yeah, it's Indonesian military is there.
Where are they? Are they close to where we're going?
No.
No, okay.
It's maybe 4 or 10 kilometers along.
10 kilometres away. And they're in Kiwi Rock with snipers.
Yeah, snipers.
Since the bombings, most people have been hiding in jungle camps, as there have been multiple instances of Indonesian security forces shooting civilians who attempt to return to their villages. A delegation of TPN guerrillas led by Ananias Mimin have arrived at the airstrip to escort us on the difficult walk over mountains, through rivers and across the border to the camp where they say we will meet Lamek Taplo. I understand why the Indonesian military has trouble hunting these guerrillas. The terrain is impenetrable. The mountains are drenched in never-ending rain. The cliffside ground crumbles beneath my feet every second step. Landslides dot the track. 1 foot wrong, and you'll never leave these mountains. Yet the guerrillas glide through barefoot, carrying 20-kilo bags. A few hours into the walk, and guns begin to appear out of nowhere. As does the Morning Star flag of West Papua.
Masukkan saya. Dia tidak ada tali. Tidak seperti yang lain.
We have crossed the border. We're in Yalam Kupal territory, one of Earth's last free and secret places. Technically Indonesia, but a frontier which Indonesia is yet to penetrate on the ground. There are Indonesian military bases and snipers just a few kilometres away. It's kind of tense. Yet as dangerous as the Indonesian military is, unless it's by helicopter, rarely do they venture far from the safety of their bases, as the soldiers are more scared of who I'm with and who I'm about to meet.
The TPN are all down there.
Lapor! Kami, Tentara Pembebasan Nasional Papua Barat, delegasi dari Markas Pusat, bawah pimpinan Kepala Staf Umum, bersama juru bicara TPNPB, bersama 3 jurnalis Australia, telah tiba di wilayah Pegunungan Bintang. 3. Panglima Daerah Pertahanan telah tiba dalam keadaan aman dan terkendali. Laporan selesai. Siap, diterima. Siap, laksanakan. Siap, laksanakan. Kami ini semua dari ekonomi Papua ini. Tuhan berkati.
Lamek Taplo, Ina Sawamabin and Ananias Mimin, 3 TPN commanders, 3 key witnesses to the Kiwi Rock bombings, each leaders of their own Defence Area Command, or as they call them, CODAPs.
Tuhan berkuasa melindungi dan semua. Dalam nama Tuhan Yesus Kristus, semua kita berdoa. Amin. Ya.
You see, this house is all bombing,
Yeah.
and how they organize people to flee. Yeah.
They did the organisation for when Kiwi Rock was bombed.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Strong people, strong man, stand for land and people.
Getting a visitor here is extremely rare. Apart from a meeting with Sebi and Terianis in 2022, I've been told that the Star Mountains TPN have had no outsiders, let alone foreign media, come to investigate the bombings which took place in 2021. The people here have seen more rocket-firing gunships than video cameras. This was one of the few hamlets not bombed into the ground, though it's usually unpopulated. If not for the TPN press junket, the people here would be hiding deep in the jungle. An explanation of our presence is required.
Dan ini istri Christine, Menteri Luar Negeri dan Transmigrasi, itu orang Australia, Justin Keakov. Itu dia bawa Panglima Indonesia, mereka rapat di Mosby untuk bikin penandatanganan perjanjian untuk bikin keamanan di batas ini.
A few weeks after the bombings began, the Papua New Guinean government sent a few members of their defence force to the border town of Tamolbel to investigate the refugees that had fled to escape the Indonesian military. But that appears to be the greatest extent of PNG government action regarding bombings on their doorstep. In fact, as we were there, Australian-born PNG Foreign Minister Justin Kichenko ratified a border agreement with Indonesia, allowing for joint patrols of the shared border. This has incensed the TPN, who for decades have felt the consequences of decisions about their land that have usually been made by foreigners in cities thousands of kilometres away.
Indonesia maupun Papua Nugini, pemerintah tidak punya hak untuk tanda tangan. Yang punya hak itu kami. Kami orang Papua Nugini dan West Papua, kami punya hak untuk tanda tangan untuk pengaturan batas ini.
Facing an increasingly hostile Indonesia, with essentially no international or material support for their cause, the TPN still try their best with quasi-diplomatic efforts. This trip is beginning to feel like one. We wake up the next day to find a schedule filled with ceremonies, the TPN's way of getting their message out to the world. First off, they're presenting us with gifts.
So, what did she say about the bombs?
He said, these bombs, they throw my house. I went out from the jungle. I stayed in the jungle and I came to here.
We need support, international support. We need any country support, full support, war, equipment, and also financially. Because we have beautiful ladies in here, West Papua. Many beautiful ladies. Many men like married with them. Understand what I mean? That means we have many resources. Coal, mining, forest, timbers, and oil and gas. Everything is there. Anyone interested, please come. Support our logistic weapon system complete and also financial. Then we will see, test who is have good ability and skill to fight for in the field, Indonesia or West Papua. We will see and we will test. If Indonesia, okay, we will surrender to Indonesia. But and then we say Indonesia, let's go, leave our lands. Thank you.
Inspektur upacara memasuki lapangan upacara. Penghormatan kepada Inspektur upacara. Hormat! Gerak! Bombardir di Kiwirok. Saya mewakili kedua kodap. Saya sebagai kodap induk sampaikan bahwa beberapa bom yang kas turun di pemukiman warga di Kiwirok. 3 kodap. Kekuatan dari kami manusia saja tidak mungkin seperti ini. Tetapi karena Tuhan. Tanpa pengobratan, Umar, dan
This tarpaulin held up by a few branches is Lamek Taplo's podium. He just announced that it is where he'll be holding his first and likely only ever press conference, a press conference only attended by Paradise Broadcasting. It's where the clearest picture of what exactly happened in Kiwi Rock in 2021 will emerge.
Kabe dunduk di Bakaba 152 bom dunduk di.
Lamek and the commanders are holding Krushik M72 81mm mortars. These specific mortars have been modified to be dropped from the air owing to an improvised tail boom and fuse.
Kamera drone non heli yambul te giga uma puo me kamera drone tindi stombol ne di tindi stombol hei bamta pu abe na kaba kampong pu abe na kaba kamera drone ta na kaba kabe kaba ba ko te da ne de uma by remote transfer.
When I first spoke to witnesses about the bombings a year ago, they all reported that these mortars were dropped by drones that looked like small helicopters. This was such a bizarre claim and a surreal image, Indonesia using drones to drop bombs on tribal communities, that I had serious doubts, and there were no reports of drones that had reached the outside world. I got the witnesses to draw pictures from memory of the alleged drones. After some digging, and to my great shock, I discovered that just a few months before the bombings, photos emerged online showing an officer from Indonesia's paramilitary police wing, Brimob, standing next to a drone carrying mortars in Papua, completely consistent with the drawings and description of a small helicopter. This drone is a Blowfish A3, a UAV manufactured by the Xi'an company in China. This model boasts a swarm function, where up to 10 drones utilise artificial intelligence to take off and swarm a target in unison, completing the attack with full autonomy.
Tentu saja, drone ini sangat membantu dalam misi yang diemban oleh TNI maupun Brimob untuk mengamankan daerah dan memburu OPM di Papua.
Can I show you this picture?
I presented the delegation with a photo of this model.
Do you recognize that? Have you seen that before?
Kamera drone.
See, so we've got a positive ID on the Blowfish AI drone. That's the one?
Yeah.
So that's Brimob.
Yeah.
And they look like, is that what they look like? Yeah? Everyone see?
But these drones and mortars were not the only weapons Indonesia used in their assault.
Kamera drone ta dunduk de gia uma helitan helita ya kauma putai dunduk de ta ko de kaga betamo na kaba wan abenong la balnon gia kaba padede no mum nehi photo ala bua ba hine photo ayo nehi.
I've seen shrapnel like this before. I was presented with a whole bag of it by other witnesses on my last trip to the border. It's from Thales FZ-68 rockets. These rockets are designed by the Belgian wing of French multinational defence contractor, Thales. Thales licenses the design of the FZ-68 rocket to Indonesian Aerospace, which then manufactures these rockets domestically. These are rockets that carry a variety of deadly warheads. They're designed for use against serious military targets, not sago leaf huts and bow and arrow wielding guerrillas. But there's even more. The TPN walked for days, carrying bags of shrapnel, spent munitions and multiple unexploded mortars, across rivers and through mountains, to bring here to show the world. Undeniable evidence of an attack, a deliberate and systematic attempt by Indonesia to depopulate the Star Mountains. A bombing campaign, still denied and ignored by the outside world, that was even larger and more deliberate than what even I had speculated.
So it looks like we've got the same Serbian mortars that I've investigated and held before. This one has MBU M18 on it.
The MBU M18 is a model of proximity fuse manufactured by state-owned Serbian company, Jugo Import. These fuses have been improvised onto the Krušik high-explosive mortars. Proximity fuses allow far greater precision in timing and explosion, allowing these mortars to have maximum impact. They can increase the lethality of a munition by tenfold when compared to a standard contact fuse. They are especially useful to have on mortars that are dropped by drones. Lamek explains that some bombs exploded mid-air and some on the ground. This precision possible thanks to proximity fuses, although it looks like some may have been faulty.
They're coming down many, but some has destroying up in the middle of the space, and this one's coming down on the ground.
These are some of the photos taken by Papuans during and directly after the bombings of Kiwi Rock. Some of these have never been published. The most mysterious pieces of evidence I'm presented last. Some dodgy plastic tail fins and a 40mm grenade cartridge.
But then we've got this really cheap plastic tail that might have been screwed onto a mortar that I'm not sure what it's for. Indonesia seems to be using a whole lot more than just what we originally thought on Kiwi Rock. Tom, could you ask... Oh, I'm scared. Could you ask Lamek, what did these do?
Come to the patient, but he's disappeared.
Yeah.
That's why we're running away.
So they don't kill anybody,
Yeah.
but they hit you in the chest.
And he said maybe God is blessing, maybe guiding us, so we.
Yeah, didn't get killed from it.
This testimony seems to indicate that if this was a standard high explosive grenade, it was faulty, or that it's not the cartridge from a standard grenade.
And these ones are Indonesian bullets.
Listing spent munitions may seem trivial, but for 60 years Indonesia has consistently denied dropping bombs on West Papua. Claims of Indonesian bombings in West Papua have often been treated by governments and media as little more than conspiracy theories advanced by ideologically driven activists.
Lots and lots of tails and weapons. These are wings from the FZ-68, FTA-81. These are the model of wings. This is, yeah, more of the FZ rocket. That looks like the Talus rocket.
Yet, here are the remnants of enough munitions to have killed hundreds of people, and this is just one sample from one attack.
This one looks like, these are the makeshift, yeah, they've all the mortars have the same design. More bullets. Whoop! Oh. Talus. Krušik, Talus. So you can imagine what this would be like coming at you at, I don't know, hundreds of kilometers an hour, cutting through you. Talus doesn't have a problem selling these weapons to use in the middle of an island, in the most remote, uncontacted area of an island that really like had its first contact with the West, or the West, I don't know what the word is, 50 years ago, and they're using these. Is it what is Indonesia defending? They're not defending anything. And what is Talus? What is Talus? I don't know, I'm lost for words. It's pretty, I've seen it before, but there's just so much of it this time. This is just a fraction of it. I saw a big bag in Tamulville that had different parts. I took some of it back before. There's more bullets. Yeah, well, not to mention the bullets. So just in this village, this is stuff I haven't seen before. The bags in the previous video that I looked at in Tamulville across the border were completely different. These are mortars I haven't seen before. So just in this village, just what the local TPN could carry, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mortars. We've probably got more because I've just put this pile here, but this is quite a few Talus rockets. Talus, come on, own up to it. There's like plenty of markings already. Like there's a ridiculous amount of evidence. And then we've got this, which looks like a toy. These ones came from helicopter. Helicopter? Drones?
Yeah.
Oh, helicopter? Helicopter? Drone?
Yeah, drone.
This one came from helicopter.
Yeah, helicopter.
What was on this one?
This one is this one is really a long one is coming down.
Longer, like it looks like that, but bigger.
One, but a long one.
Longer than that one. That's really interesting that they used a plastic testing stuff, I guess. So this is what Indonesia uses against Papuans and the West Papuan Liberation Army, and this is what the West Papuan Liberation Army and Papuans are forced to use against Indonesia. It's not a particularly even fight. Bows and arrows versus mortars.
Documents released under Freedom of Information requests from Paradise Broadcasting show that a few days after the bombings began, on the 25th and 26th of October 2021, the Australian Embassy in Jakarta made calls to the Indonesian government to inquire, quote, about the reported claims of TNI firing mortars from helicopters in the Papua highlands. On the 27th of October 2021, the Australian Embassy in Jakarta sent a cable to the Department of Foreign Affairs in Canberra. This cable shows the Indonesian government denied any bombing of Kiwi Rock to the Australian government, with bureaucrats from Australia's Department of Defence, Home Affairs and Foreign Affairs appearing to accept those denials. Quote, the Indonesian government has refuted media reports that security forces attacked villages in Papua using mortar rounds fired from helicopters. However, security forces have acknowledged there was law enforcement activity in the region at the time. Indonesian security forces have denied any bombardment. Papua Regional Police spokesperson, Chief Commander Ahmad Mustafa Kamal, said on 24 October that security forces had been conducting law enforcement and outreach activities in Kiwi Rock, but that those activities had clear rules of engagement. Commander of the local army command, redacted, said none of his soldiers were involved in the bombardments or arson against civilian houses. He claimed that armed criminal groups, KKB, TPNPB, had carried out attacks in Kiwi Rock and the neighbouring Okhika district since mid-September, including attacks which had killed a health worker. Redacted further claimed that the photos which supposedly captured the arson were deliberately circulated by the KKB. Redacted, on 26 October, that Kiwi Rock was now safe and secure. In a comment on the bombing accusations levelled at Indonesia, the cable from the Australian Embassy in Jakarta demonstrates the remarkably quick willingness of these bureaucrats to default to accepting Indonesia's assurances, even when those assurances are contradicted by photographic evidence. Quote, the accusations such as mortar rounds being fired from helicopters seem implausible. Indirect fire mortar rounds against the KKB in Papua would be unusual given the high risk of civilian casualties. There are no videos of mortar attacks, nor photographs of civilians with shrapnel wounds, and the supposed unexploded mortar round in photographs does not look like it has been fired. It's extremely difficult to understand the thinking behind this analysis. If not for the Indonesian military, how else would unexploded mortar rounds end up in the most remote mountains of New Guinea? These are videos of Ananias Mimin's Bintang Timor commander, the TPNPB. They were taken in the years since the Kiwi Rock bombings. Ananias boasts of being the best armed guerrilla in these mountains, due to the crash of an Indonesian military helicopter in 2019. All 12 military personnel on board died. The wreck was in such a remote place, on top of Mount Aplim, it took Indonesia 8 months to locate it, and that was only by air.
Senjata dengan peluru kamu kandung itu dapat di mana?
Ditempatin sudah. Itu kan dari alam Tuhan langsung kasih begitu, langsung taruh di situ baru kita begitu ceritanya. Sebelumnya itu bilang saya sendiri tidak pernah lihat body senjata, terus
Tidak tahu cara pegang
peluru senjata juga tidak pernah lihat. Tapi pas kami keluar ketemu jatuh heli baru kami lihat senjata, peluru, maksudnya amunisi. Setelah itu baru kami langsung ambil, langsung macam ada petunjuk langsung dari Tuhan atau alam. Jadi sudah dari situ kami tahu bunyi tembakan, cara kokengnya, terus apa kasih bunyi itu. Terus dari situ langsung kami keluar, baru ambil keputusan untuk kami mau lawan Indonesia, baru dari situ kami.
This is Indonesian Air Force helicopter with 12 personnel. The helicopter crashed. That's Indonesian found this helicopter for 9 months, but they never found.
They never found it.
After months of searching, Ananias and his command found the wreck on top of their sacred mountain to discover almost everything was destroyed. Everything except 6 FN rifles, 3 Browning high-power pistols, a trove of bullets, and a bandolier.
6 guns and 3 pistols. So Indonesian asked for TPNPP, please return this gun. But we said this already became to property belong to TPNPP. So welcome, we'll kill you, use this one gun.
And how come the helicopter fell out of the sky?
They believe that their ancestors, spirit of ancestors work for support them, for keep them calm. Because you see this is helicopters already does, but how? It's impossible, his gun is there.
So like the whole helicopter is dust, but the guns are left.
Gun is left.
So you think magic?
Magic,
Yeah.
I mean like that. And they believe their ancestors put all these things, they save all these things for them.
Yeah.
And then this gun, another family not use.
It only works for Mimin.
Yeah.
So when others try to use the gun, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Nature already make promise with those boys. Yeah. So another can hold this gun, it's not work. I think modern people, you will not believe, but this is reality. And we believe, because we are still under our custom, and we believe our ancestor history, our mountain, there is our power.
This newfound firepower inspired a new strategy for the Bintang Timor Command, a strategy designed to maximise the impact of their bullets, a scarce commodity for the TPN. Shooting sparingly and deliberately at any aircraft that attempts to land anywhere near their territory. For a while, this had the effect of forcing some airlines to temporarily suspend flights into the regional capital of Oksibil. But there's a deeper reason this strategy was adopted. This video was taken from the inside of what should normally be a civilian aircraft that was being used for a military extraction during the Kiwi Rock conflict.
sudah.
Yeah.
Sources have identified this aircraft as belonging to Smart Aviation, a Jakarta-based charter airline company that has garnered a reputation in Papua for transporting military personnel.
They come and they want to kill us, so they're using any plane they used to kill.
Any plane.
Any plane they're using.
And everyone's witnessed.
Yes,
everyone's witnessed that. So no one here trusts any plane, because any plane could come with people with bullets or bombs or
We can't see this plane. Who's planning? Who's like from government or from missionario? We never see it. They just come and they shoot it.
This is a pattern all over West Papua, and it's part of the reason other TPN commanders have gone so far as to take civilian pilots hostage, as Indonesia deliberately blurs any distinction between military and civilian activity, which not only degrades trust among Papuans, but makes it incredibly dangerous for anyone, whether military or not, to work in the highlands.
Eli Mbidana disebut sebagai komandan operasi kelompok kriminal bersenjata Ngalum Kupel, Lamek Taplo.
All the reporting on the conflict in Kiwi Rock lays the initial blame on Lamek Taplo, yet very few have raised the question, why did Lamek burn government buildings, including a health clinic, in the first place? It appears that the impetus of the conflict in Kiwi Rock could be yet another instance of Indonesia's deliberate use of civilian infrastructure as a Trojan horse for military activity.
Indonesia be agaba tale kaga be ahele mon kayo ma. Kaga yen pukulon kayo nerme. Satu akabe mama yung akame matigan generasi orang Papua. Heon kayo nerme. Kago ma magia ma. Magidom te akaba. Dokter akaba pistola akaba. Nugay te bongia nginunub akaba pistola kasigelu arhe nerno nugay baliuma. 21 kali tembakan herne o gaben po Indonesia be agaba mantri ado nekot ay badungo diam.
The reason of I been the clinic, the one of the doctor is working inside. He's a staff inside.
This has been the consistent testimony from Papuans from the beginning. Claims that the conflict began when an Indonesian migrant doctor stationed at the health clinic in Kiwi Rock, working closely with the Indonesian military, opened fire at Papuans, prompting Lamek to order the arson of the clinic. Because of this repeated pattern from Indonesia, in the Papuan highlands, there is little trust of NGOs, let alone of supposed do-gooders from Java. The 1996 Mapenduma hostage crisis was a particularly sordid example of Indonesia's Trojan horse tactics, wherein special forces went so far as to use a Red Cross helicopter to sneak into a village where they then indiscriminately shot and killed civilians.
The statements all confirm. A white helicopter with Indonesian soldiers hiding in the back. A Red Cross flag, white people shooting at them, and many of them claim a white woman whom they've learned to trust.
It seems since then, not much has changed.
One helicopter fly from Penji side to Kiwi Rock, and then people think, oh, this maybe a few days ago we fight and destroying this Kiwi Rock town, district town. Maybe this is it's one of help, international help, maybe fly helicopter come from Papua New Guinea. And then they all of hang up and say, suddenly turn fly and helicopter destroy all the bow. Lamek story.
So people thought it was Papua New Guinea helicopter.
Yes, people think.
This is the helicopter that shot the Talus rockets.
Yes, and also drone flow.
Smaller drones.
Flow.
They came with the
Helicopter.
Till this day, Indonesian helicopters fly over these mountains, terrifying the locals and preventing anyone from returning to the villages they lived in before the bombings.
A week, helicopter actively operates this area.
Even where we are now, sometimes helicopter fly over?
Yes, they will run around from there, dropping Indonesian police and military personnel.
In 2023, German NGO Human Rights Monitor published an open-source investigation into the bombings. This investigation compared aviation photography and satellite images of Kiwi Rock from before and after the attacks. Their investigation found that 206 buildings in 8 villages had been destroyed, suggesting an overwhelming majority by Indonesian security forces. Their report also found that the bombings could constitute crimes against humanity under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, a stunning claim for a bombing campaign that both Australian and Indonesian bureaucrats have denied even happening.
Does anybody have any pictures of the helicopters or drones?
Kalau untuk helikopter ada gambarnya. Kalau untuk kamera drone punya ini tiba-tiba, jadi susah untuk kita ambil gambar karena situasi kondisi yang ada di situ itu sangat sulit karena tiba-tiba. Rakyat ini tidak tahu barang-barang begini, jadi rakyat itu daya lagi tidak ada, hilang. Akal pun tidak ada, pikiran pun tidak ada, jadi sudah.
We have photo helicopter only.
You've got a photo of the helicopter?
Yeah, Lamek.
Can I see the picture?
Aksi tempur.
Very interesting.
Ini sudah saya punya bukti. Bukti pengorbanan.
This is my evidence.
Ah, yes. Hard to identify. Very small, but that looks like a helicopter.
As far as I'm aware, these are the first images ever published of the helicopters alleged to have been used in the Kiwi Rock bombings.
Video is in here.
Oh, video.
This video, dated the 28th of September 2021, shows the TPN shooting at what appears to be a Bell 412 helicopter, the model used by Indonesian security forces to conduct evacuations during the Kiwi Rock conflict. It is unlikely this was the model that fired the Thales rockets. Those were most likely a model of Airbus, either the H225M or the H125M. A now deleted Thales webpage advertised that the Indonesian Army had received training from Thales on the maintenance of FZ-219 rocket launchers attached to Airbus helicopters, the same launchers used to shoot the FZ-68 rockets.
Lamek.
Oh, she's operations.
Yeah, so she can organize boys go with, right. But they will move with them with singing. Spirit of war. They make the spirit up.
The warriors song.
Yeah, warrior song, right. Yeah. And in our custom, when we make schedule for go fight with enemy, no man sleep with woman. Yeah. We leave women sleep separate. All men go fight. If sleep with women and go fight, bullet come catch. Even stand the back of all the soldiers, but bullet will find him. And if women sleep up there and men not sleep down.
In 1963, American anthropologist Robert Gardner released his seminal documentary, Dead Birds, an ethnographic film which captured extraordinary footage of the Dani people locked in what was described as Stone Age warfare, opposing clans shooting bows and arrows, throwing spears across the lush foothills of the Baliem Valley, a place and people only encroached upon by outsiders 30 years earlier. For here in the Star Mountains, it was even later, 1959, when the Dutch first came. Gardner shot his film, knowing it would contain the only images ever captured of humanity in this form of existence. Yet exactly why this would be the case would have been unimaginable. Less than 15 years later, the people in this same valley, the last settled civilization encroached upon by the industrial world, were forced to turn their poison arrows upwards, as they were now being bombed with napalm from helicopters and Bronco attack aircrafts. Indonesia's late 70s bombing campaign against West Papua has to be one of the largest mass killings of the second half of the 20th century, that by most official accounts never happened. Reports detail thousands upon thousands massacred, those who surrendered boiled alive, burnt alive, buried alive, and worse. Yet not a single photograph of this campaign exists. The vast expanse of mountains, jungles, rivers, absorbing the screaming, the booming, the man-made thunder, all kinds of depravity brought by the cowboys from the west. For 60 years, highland Papuans have been trying to tell the world of what Indonesian security forces have done in these mountains. Yet if their message ever did reach the lowlands, it became nothing more than a rumour. For a nation to bomb its own tribal communities would be an act of such extreme asymmetrical aggression that the suggestion in of itself to outsiders was almost comical. But as well as mortars and rockets, now phones and cameras have slowly made their way into these mountains, and the TPN can document their last stand. But will anyone watch? On my last night with Lamek, I'm given folders full of photographs of corpses and graves, people alleged to have died as a result of the bombing and its aftermath. Many of the photos are photos of emaciated corpses. Some are women, some are children, some are babies. They cannot be shown here. I'm also given a list prepared by the TPN of the names of around 200 people they claim to have died. Although accounting for differing hamlets, I find the list shares a significant amount of names with the list handed to me by different witnesses I interviewed a year earlier. Running very low on battery, I'm not expecting to film an interview in this context, but it is in this informal setting in which some of the more startling allegations about Kiwi Rock come to light.
He's staying 1 year, 6 months.
He was 1 year old and 6 months.
6 months.
And he died how quickly after the Kiwi Rock bombing? How many?
October they through the happened in Kiwi Rock when they started October and they started after he dead.
He died. And these are some graves.
Yeah.
And that's a body.
Yeah.
Another body. And these did he die from starvation or wound from bomb?
They throw the bomb.
He died from bomb. Bomb.
They throw the bomb and this what these chemicals or what?
Yeah,
chemicals is good and then such consider nose and
Really?
Yeah.
The chemicals from the bomb made him sick.
The first time they throwing is the people is not dying, but they throwing and this chemical up between 1 month later or 2 months, the people is dying.
2 months later.
2 months later, the people is dying.
What does it look like? What's this chemical?
Like dust.
Dust.
Yeah, that's like big one, so it's coming like dust.
Coming like clouds of dust.
Yes.
These claims of sickness and poisoning were flagged by the few messages sent out from the mountains via church sources in the years since the bombings. This message from October 2023 contains pictures of corpses and graves and states, quote, "The 2 children died because there was no access to hospitals and also no medical assistance in the refugee areas from the start of the conflict until October 2023. Refugees in Kiwi Rock were sick, coughing and bleeding according to the information we received, possibly from the mortar smoke in the fire. The impact is starting to impact parents and children. The 2 children who died experienced symptoms of coughing blood that would not stop continuously and had to exhale, and when they coughed out blood. The allegations surrounding poisoning are very hard to substantiate, but these witnesses are not lying. Something has happened. Time and time again I've had my doubts about what sounds like far-fetched testimony about drones, snipers and rockets, yet every single time the witnesses have been proven correct. It might not be poisoning, but it's still undeniable that a great deal of people have died in mysterious circumstances since the Kiwi Rock bombings that Indonesia said didn't happen. And I still haven't identified the grenade cartridge and tail fins, possible evidence supporting the poisoning allegation. To do so, I'll need to get them out of Papua and back to Australia. Landing back in the outside world, we are immediately greeted by the Papua New Guinea police force, who after some negotiating say they just want to drive us from the missionary plane terminal to the main commercial airport. The only issue is, those buildings are 20 metres apart. After loading us up into the back of the open-air police truck under obviously false pretences, we speed down towards the town's main police station, where we are questioned and our bags containing a bunch of evidence from the bombings searched. I don't know how this happened, but the police somehow didn't find the grenade cartridge and rocket shrapnel in our bags, so after more negotiating, they agree to let Kirsten and I go. They drive us back to the airport. We then fly to Moresby, but are again detained and questioned by immigration, being released just in time to make our flight. Since returning to Australia, I've shown the plastic tail fins to multiple weapons experts, and speculation has ranged from them being the stabilising fins of an improvised chemical bomb, or the fins from a high explosive incendiary. So far, I've found nothing conclusive, but the use of phosphorus seems quite possible. In 2018, journalists Mark Davis and John Martinkus reported that security forces potentially deployed white phosphorus in Nduga to forceful denials from Indonesia. The 40mm grenade cartridge from Kiwi Rock is very similar in appearance to some of the cartridges that accompanied those reports. It is also identical to certain 40mm Pindad high explosive grenades. I got some limited chemical testing of the munitions done, looking for phosphorus in particular. It was a long shot as phosphorus disappears into the environment very quickly, and these munitions have been left in the Rainy Star Mountains since their use 3 years ago. As expected, the results were also inconclusive. Although recently declassified cables from Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs confirmed that as early as 1978, Indonesia was deploying plastic phosphorus bombs in Papua. Ironically, these cables were speculating that Indonesia was open about their use of phosphorus to cover for their use of, quote, high explosive rockets and possibly even bombs.
Saya mau tanya kepada PBB bahwa apakah dari 36 kodam ini sudah punya heli, sudah punya kamera drone, maka dari Indonesia kasih turun bom dengan melalui helikopter dan melalui kamera drone kepada kami TBNPB dan juga pemukiman warga begitu. Saya tanya kepada pihak PBB begitu. Jadi tolong jelaskan.
Papua? Papua?
Unfortunately for Lamek and the Nyalam Kupal people, the UN won't explain, nor will Indonesia, nor will the foreign weapons companies profiting from West Papua's obliteration. Like the American Indian Wars or Australia's frontier wars, this is an asymmetrical war, a war waged by an industrial power eager to exploit the riches of its frontier against tribes, a war that has been heading in one direction.
Did he die after Kiwi Rock starvation? Starvation?
Bilan Taplo. Yeah, his son. He's died.
He died?
Yeah.
After Kiwi Rock?
Yeah, after Kiwi Rock.
This is your son?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did he die from starvation or
from after this
sickness?
Sickness. From maybe bomb or maybe.
There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Smoke.
Yeah, from the smoke.
Smoke.
If the children in Kiwi Rock survive the artificial famine, if they survive whatever illness the bombings induced, they will be trained on bows and arrows. The fiercest of them will soon graduate to assault rifles. They will make their last stand against history. Maybe they will take a hostage. Maybe they'll burn some buildings. Maybe they'll shoot some aircraft from the sky. Maybe their ancestors will pull the aircraft down for them. Or maybe they will die, because an algorithm, loaded into a drone from China, sent to the mountains by Jakarta, determined that they were the wrong speck in the grass. Thank you for watching that fairly bleak documentary, but we don't want it to be impotently bleak. So there are some things you can do that we're going to request of you if you want. First off, we've partnered kind of up with PNG Trust. They helped us do this documentary in the first place. They're an NGO based in Papua New Guinea, and they're planning on hopefully getting some supplies into the Star Mountains, like food, rice, communications equipment, some literacy training and medical assistance, just so people can better document what's happening to them, and also just eat, because you probably saw in the documentary the kids there, they've got bloated bellies, which is a sign of protein malnutrition. So we've linked that fundraiser in the description. So if you want to help out, hopefully we can do something and raise some money and bring some supplies in. Other things you can do is stay abreast of the situation, subscribe to Paradise Broadcasting. We're seem to be the only outlet that really does this story. We've got a national broadcaster that's more interested in spending millions a year producing slop investigative journalism. And then there's other things you can do to support West Papua.
You can just show your support by writing comments, by writing to your MPs, and just following the story. And especially right now, it's really important that we keep an eye on what's going on in West Papua and don't let Indonesia silence the situation there, because with the recent election of Prabowo Subianto as the new president, he said he's going to be increasing the military operations through West Papua, and so it's really quite a scary time.
Just where we were, very close, they've just done a military operation, and we're getting pictures of IDPs in Oxop right now. So all the more reason to donate to PNG Trust if you want to, I don't know, we'll try get stuff in there. Yeah, it's really, I don't know, it's bleak. Also, just quickly, if you have any theories about maybe what the red tail fins are, or anything in this video, or any tips, you can email me. I've put my email in the description. Thank you for watching.